My parents humiliated me at the will reading, until they saw I inherited all, and they collapsed. The room smelled like mahogany and tension. I sat silently at the edge of the long, polished conference table, my hands clenched tightly in my lap. The air was thick with judgment, whispered mockery, and the sharp edge of disdain. My parents, Harold and Elaine Whitmore, sat across from me, flanked by my two siblings, Jared, the golden boy with a law degree, and Clarissa, who could turn even her yawns into grand performances. I was the outlier, Eli, the quiet one, the adopted son. They reminded me I was at every family gathering, the one who never quite fit in. And now, with the passing of the only person who ever saw me, my grandfather, Martin Whitmore, I had to sit through this final act of their contempt. "I don't know why he's here," my mother muttered just loud enough. Martin was sentimental. He probably left Eli a book or some old painting to remember him by. They laughed. I didn't. Not because it hurt, after all these years, I'd grown numb to it, but because I knew something they didn't. I knew my grandfather, not just as the patriarch of a powerful family, but as a man who, in secret moments, had shared his real thoughts. While they schemed and bragged, I'd read to him when his eyes failed, brought him soup when no one else came to visit, and listened to his stories as if they were sacred. He told me once, in a whisper that still echoes in my mind, "Eli, love isn't about blood. It's about loyalty. About who shows up." The lawyer cleared his throat. "We are here to read the last will and testament of Martin J. Whitmore. Before we begin, the deceased requested that we play this video." A screen flickered to life, and there he was, Grandpa, frail but fiery, looking straight into the camera. "If you're watching this, it means I've finally left this world. Elaine, Harold, Jared, Clarissa, and Eli. First, let me say this: I saw everything. I saw who came when I was sick. Who made time for a lonely old man. Who treated people with kindness. I've had money most of my life, but in my final years, I realized that wealth means nothing if your heart is bankrupt. So, I made my decision accordingly." The room went still. My father shifted. My mother scoffed. Clarissa rolled her eyes. I just breathed. The lawyer began. "To my daughter Elaine and son-in-law Harold, I leave the summer house in Nantucket, with the condition it be used to house families in need of shelter during the winter months. Should this not be fulfilled, ownership will revert to charity. To my grandchildren Jared and Clarissa, I leave each the sum of $10,000. "What?" Jared sputtered. $10,000. Clarissa gasped. "That doesn't even cover my shoes." The lawyer raised a hand. "There is more." My grandfather's voice returned. "To Eli, my grandson, not by blood but by bond, the only one who ever made me feel seen, I leave the remainder of my estate. This includes my home, investments, business shares, and charitable foundation. I trust you'll use it wisely." The room exploded. "You can't be serious," my father yelled. "This is a mistake," my mother cried. "He's not even a real Whitmore." I sat motionless, heart pounding, not with triumph, but disbelief. I never imagined he'd leave everything. "You knew," Jared hissed. "Didn't you? You manipulated him." I turned slowly to face them, my voice calm but firm. "No. I just loved him." And with that, I stood up. But before I left, I paused at the door and looked back, not out of gloating, but with something deeper. "You always made me feel small. Unwanted. Invisible. And yet, Grandpa saw something in me you never did. He saw a person. Not a pawn." That night, I walked through my grandfather's estate in quiet awe. Not because I was rich now, but because I felt seen. Loved. Entrusted. But the real story didn't end at the will reading. Weeks passed. News of the will made headlines. Some called me lucky, others a fraud. But I ignored the noise. I focused on the promise I made Grandpa in his final days. I don't need the money, I told the board of his charitable foundation. But I need a mission. Let's rebuild communities. Fund schools. Create scholarships for kids like me who feel they don't belong. And we did. The first project was a shelter in a forgotten part of town, one my parents had probably never stepped foot in. Then a youth mentorship program. A free clinic. The more I gave, the more I healed. One day, months later, my mother showed up at my office. She looked tired, diminished, not from age, but from pride finally giving way to humility. I just wanted to say, she began, voice trembling, we were wrong about you. All of us. I nodded. Thank you. But I don't need an apology. I just hope you see now what Grandpa saw. That love and value aren't measured in blood or pedigree, but in the way we treat others. Tears filled her eyes, and for the first time, I saw my mother not as the cold woman who'd raised me, but as someone learning, slowly, what it meant to be human. The world loves a twist, a moment when the underdog rises. But this story was never about revenge. It was about grace. I didn't choose to shame them at the will reading. I didn't need to. Life had already done that. What I chose was to take my inheritance, not as a prize, but as a responsibility. A chance to become the kind of man my grandfather always believed I could be. And in that choice, I found my freedom. We all crave recognition, not just of our achievements, but of our worth. My story isn't just mine. It's for every kid who's been overlooked, every heart that's been quietly breaking, every person who's been told they're not enough. Sometimes, life offers us an unexpected turn. And sometimes, the greatest act of revenge is kindness. I built a life not on the ashes of my pain, but on the foundation of compassion. And in doing so, I became something far more valuable than wealthy. I became whole.